Let's move forward and talk about some other managerial or organizational aspects of conversational techniques. In conversation, there are other aspects which may not be linguistic, but still they convey a lot more meanings. In this regard, we need to understand the concepts like pauses, overlaps, and back channels because they contribute to organize communication and understand the organization of a conversation in a better way. And that's why they help us a lot in conversation analysis. What are overlaps? Overlaps are when two people try to speak at the same time, and there is a kind of overlap in their communication. When two people are conversating with each other, and they are not able to develop a smooth, fluent transition of turns between their talk, it is assumed that they are overlapping. And in such situations, usually we see that there is more than what is communicated linguistically. Probably there may be a sense of distance between them. There is an absence of familiarity or ease, or there could be any other social meaning which may be driven according to the context. But when two people are trying to speak simultaneously, and they actually speak the words at the same time, we call it overlap. If you have a look at this example in front of you, it's a little interaction between a student and his friend's father during their first meeting somewhere. And Mr. John is the friend's father of the student, and Dave is the student in this conversation. Mr. John, who is the elder one and the friend's father, says, "What's your major, Dave?" Dave says, "English." "Well, I haven't really decided yet." You can see a little dash in between English and the word "well." This shows a small pause here. Dave first said English, and then he paused for a shorter while, and then he said, "Well, I haven't really decided yet." He retrieved his words. And then there is a pause of 3 seconds, which is mentioned. A pause of 3 seconds is usually considered a bigger pause, and it is evident, and it is usually written in brackets in the transcription of conversation. Mr. John, after this pause, says, "So," then again a little pause, "you want to be a teacher?" Dave, "No." Again little pause, "Not really." Then again little pause, "Well, not if I can help it." Then again a longer pause of 2.5 seconds. And then Mr. John says, "What?" And you can see 2 slashes in front of you after "what." Probably this is a half word. Mr. John probably would have said something here, something different, but something interrupted. There is an overlap here. This slash shows that what John wanted to say has been overlapped by the other participant, Dave. So in overlapping, John said, "Where do you?" And then a little pause, he stopped. And at the same time, Dave was trying to say, "I mean it's," and then there is a little pause. Both realized. Then this pause shows that both have realized that they're trying to speak at the same time. And John, showing his generosity here, he asked Dave to go ahead. But at the same time, Dave, who has also realized it, says, "Oh, sorry." And then again there is an overlap, and he says, "I am," and then there is a small pause. You see, this is how we identify various conversational elements in conversational analysis, and they got certain meanings also. Here the short pauses are marked with a dash, are simply hesitations. When you talk to an elder one, to somebody you are less familiar with, obviously there are some elements of initial hesitation. But longer pauses become silence. Silence cannot be attributed to any speaker, because both have finished their talk, finished their turn, and then there is a pause. And it's usually because of the reason that the participants are not able to decide who has to speak next in most of the situations. The final two lines, as I've also explained previously, in this example illustrated overlaps. Conventionally, these overlaps are marked by this double slash at the beginning of the overlapping talk. Typically, the first overlap occurs as both speakers attempt to initiate talk. Both want to speak simultaneously, want to say something. In accordance with the local management system, one speaker will stop to allow the other speaker to have the floor. As we have seen in the previous example, both John and Dave, they gave the other person a chance to speak. Let's move to back channels now. Back channels are actually gestures. They are head nods, smiles, facial expressions, or any other gestures which indicate that the hearer is listening. It's a kind of feedback which you give to the listener and to the speaker as a listener, and this shows that you are listening to him or her carefully, and he or she may go on, or sometimes this might show some kind of agreement also. In this example, you can see it's a talk between a caller and Mary, who is listening to the caller, and the linguistic sounds which have been generated by Mary, they show some back channeling effect. Some of these are present in Mary's contributions to caller. Let's read this talk and then we'll talk about these back channels. Caller starts talking and say, "If you use your long distance service a lot, you will." Mary says, and she repeats it, and probably this is an indication that go on. Then caller says, "Be interested in the discount I'm talking about because." Mary says, "Yeah." Again, an expression of or an indication that a caller may go on saying what he wants to say, and the Mary is very much understanding what he or she is trying to say. Then caller says it again, "It can only save you money to switch to a cheaper service." Mary says, again another sound which shows some kind of indication that you might go on. These types of signals, as you have just seen coming from Mary, they provide a feedback to the current speaker that the message is being received. And such kind of signals are known as back channels or back channel signals in conversation analysis.